Welcome back, guys. I trust you've been staying safe. Now, the Republic of South Africa has long grappled with the menace of gun violence, with several mass shootings being reported this year in 2023. So, this country is actually on record as having one of the world's highest murder rates. And in as much as it's a very beautiful country, trust you me, gun violence is now a headache that the security agencies are dealing with. This is just to set the tone for this true crime story because it's one that is out of the ordinary. Usually, when it comes to gun violence, there could be murder and there could be robbery. Now, it is very, very surprising to have a public official, or let me say a government official at the level of a ministerial position being robbed by some thugs. But that is exactly what has happened here per reports out there. And CNN itself has also captured this. Because as it turns out, as at just some few days ago, the transport minister of South Africa, in her company of her bodyguards, were robbed at gunpoint as they were actually embarking on a journey. Now, when I came on this story, I was a bit flabbergasted because I was wondering, how is this possible? She is a minister and she has bodyguards. How is it that some riffraffs with some weapons can be able to gain access to her and rob her and her bodyguards? So I dug deeper. I wanted to understand how the whole thing unfolded. Now, the name of this minister is Sindisiwe Chikunga, and she's a woman. And you could see she's a very firm woman. She seems like one of those public officials who is probably very principled. I don't know so much about her, but the little research I did, I think she holds her principles in high esteem. Now, according to the reports, they were actually traveling on a highway called the N3 highway between a town called Voslusroos and another town called Heidelberg. And these are towns that are south of Johannesburg, or as some would say, Johannesburg. So, this is what happened according to the account of this minister when she was giving an account of it after it had happened. This is what she said. So, according to her, the whole thing was very traumatizing and devastating. Now, according to her, she said it happened at around 3:30 a.m. local time, after the vehicle in which she was traveling suffered a puncture. Now, it would also be revealed later that this puncture was actually deliberate. It turns out these people had actually laid ambush for the vehicle. So they had put some spike strips on the road, and that was what caused the puncture. But I'm asking myself, how come the driver didn't see this? I'm not judging or playing a blame game, but I think that if you are driving someone in high ranking as a minister, you should be a driver who is really sharp and assessing the roads. Even if it was a bit dark because it was at 3:30 a.m., irrespective, you have headlights. I don't know which type of spike strips these were, but I think they should have been quite obvious to see. That is my thinking. I could be wrong. But she continued to narrate what happened. According to her, after they got the puncture, she looked out of the window, and this was at the time when her bodyguards had also gotten out trying to change the punctured tire. And she looked out of the window, and that was when she saw some people with a gun pointing at her protectors or bodyguards. So it looks like the plan went as clockwork for these robbers because they placed the spike strips there. It caused the puncture. The bodyguards came out to change the tire, as I'm sure was expected by the robbers, and then they got the jump on them. The robbers pulled their guns on them, and then from this point, they actually disarmed the bodyguards. They took their police-issued weapons and other things that the bodyguards had on them. But it didn't end there. By virtue of they being able to overpower the bodyguards, they now gained direct access to this minister. Now, according to Chikunga, the minister, she was trying to pull out her phone to call for help, but before she could say Jack, her door was opened and a gun was pointed at her head. Then she saw 3 well-dressed men who then ordered her to get out of the car and asked her to surrender her money. She went on to further indicate that after this, they actually searched her bodyguards and they also tried to get as much money as they could from her. Unfortunately for them, she didn't have much money with her. She had just about 200 rand. That's the equivalent of about $20. At which point, they saw that she has a gold ring on her finger, her wedding finger, or her wedding ring finger, and they asked that she should give them the wedding ring. You know, bear in mind, this minister had been complying with every instruction they were given, but this is one that she was going to fight them for, because she refused. And the people insisted again, and she refused, vehemently telling them that, no, I will not give you my wedding ring because it is the only thing I have bonding me to my deceased husband. So it turns out the wedding ring is a memento that she has from her husband who is deceased. And I respect this woman so much. Like I told you, I don't know much about her, but to take this stance with a gun pointed to you, I think it shows where her heart is, it shows where her principles are, it shows where her mind is. You can criticize it if you beg to differ. I respect that too. But I think that this woman showed what was dear to her, and she took a stand. And I respect it because her reason for me is that solid. And given the fact that this is the memento that she is saying bonds her to her husband, I believe that not even a gun pointed at her was going to get her to lose that to these robbers, because they would have desecrated it. Obviously, they would have pawned it off or sold it for cheap. But for her, it means more than just a ring of gold. I know it wasn't about the cost of the ring, but rather it was about who gave her the ring and what that ring represents to her and her memories of herself and her husband. And so, when she took this stance, it seems there was a bit of deadlock. Mind you, she's being robbed. So you are not really in a position to say, I'll give you this and I'll not give you that. The robbers are in total control. They are basically taking everything. They could have forced it off her hands or something else. But some way, somehow, I think the vehement feedback she gave and the sincerity she gave with sort of convinced the robbers, because they left it at that. She was able to fight them off so they don't take the wedding ring that she had from her former husband who is deceased. And then they left. So at this point, the bodyguards were asked to take a leave whilst they recover from the incident, and themselves and the minister and the driver have also been given counseling and treatment, whilst police have also launched a manhunt for these people. But like I was asking earlier, I don't understand how just 3 guys are able to do this to a whole minister. I think that they would have to sit down again and reassess the security protocols being offered to some of these high-ranking government officials, because I don't think it's that adequate. I beg to differ though, but by what I've seen in this case, if it's anything to go by as a yardstick, I think they have to look at it again. Because imagine if these 3 people wanted to do more damage or do extra crazy things apart from robbery. This minister and her bodyguards and her driver were literally at their mercy. And I don't think that is what should be. Even the regular citizens shouldn't be facing such risk, not to talk about a whole minister of a country like South Africa and a roads and transport minister for that fact. I think that they need to reassess their goals, and I'm hoping and I'm believing that these guys are going to be arrested as soon as possible. Like I was saying, South Africa for some time now has been grappling with a high level increase of gun violence, with several mass shootings being reported this year. So it wasn't really surprising to me when I got to know that South Africa as a country also has one of the world's highest murder rates. So investigations are ongoing. And for this one, woe betides to the robbers. Woe unto them, because if they get caught and they get to be put to trial, I know they are going to face a very stiff sanction, because it wasn't done to just anybody, which will still be bad enough. It was actually done to a public official, a government official. So I'm sure whichever judge will sit on that case would want to really prove a point and set an example with these people. What do you think about the act or the action that the minister took with regards to the wedding ring from her deceased husband? Personally, I think that Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga is a hero for standing up for this, and I respect her so much for that. But let me know what you also think. I'll be glad that we have a discourse on this. Until then, subscribe to the channel, share the posts with your people in your circle, leave your comments in the comment section, and please, like I've been saying, keep an eye out and stay safe out there. Even ministers are now getting robbed. How much more you, a random citizen? Catch you next time.